Hi, everybody. Sam here. Hope you're having a great day wherever you're at in the world today. I am so excited to be here for another micro interview. I have my new friend Alice with me. We've been talking a little bit before we hit record here, and you are in for a treat. If you are new to Safe Heart Connections, we're so glad you found us. We're an online community group for women that are working on learning to love ourselves more fully so we can have the life we were meant to have. You are truly in for a treat because Alice and I were talking about mindfulness. And there's some things that I think some of us think are true that maybe not be. So, Alice, I know you have a tip, thought, or piece of advice you're going to share, and then we'll chat a little bit about it after that. So, take it away.
Great. Thank you so much for having me. And yeah, so everybody, I'm Alice. I'm a mindfulness coach and a psychologist. And a lot of people don't know what mindfulness actually is. They think they do, but they don't. I often like to separate mindfulness from mindfulness meditation. So, my definition of mindfulness is that it's the quality of being present in the moment with awareness, acceptance, kindness, compassion, curiosity, and non judgment. Don't worry about memorizing all of that. You don't need to. It's just that through my research and my experience with clients and my own personal practice, I found that when people practice mindfulness, they end up being more aware, more accepting, kinder, more compassionate, and so on. And if those are some of your values, you want to be a kind, compassionate, understanding individual, then integrating mindfulness into your life is maybe exactly what you need. Mindfulness meditation is when you set aside time specifically to practice those skills. So you might have practiced even some of your own meditations, either through YouTube or like an app like Calm or Headspace. And some of those meditations are mindfulness meditations. Other ones might be a different style of meditation. So not all meditations are equal. My specialty is mindfulness precisely because it's all about the here and now and being present and being grounded and practicing responding to what's happening in this moment. And so, part of the reason that we practice meditation is so that we can be more present and mindful in our day to day lives. And the more mindful we are in our day to day lives, the less stressed we're going to be, the less overwhelmed we're going to be, the more likely we are to act like the kind of person that we actually want to be. So for me, that's kind, compassionate, curious, less judgmental, and so on. So hopefully that makes sense as far as the two concepts are related and how they're different. I do have a tip for how to start practicing mindfulness in your everyday life, if that would be useful. Yeah. So, my biggest tip, if you're, let's say you've never done mindfulness before and you're like, but how do I be mindful? The way to do that is by literally bringing your attention to your five senses. So, literally, wherever you are, whatever you're doing, asking yourself, what can I see? What can I hear? What can I smell? What can I taste? What can I touch? Because you are only present with your senses in the present moment, right? You can't smell something that you smelled yesterday, right? You can't see something that is no longer there. So anytime you bring your attention to your senses, automatically you're going to be in this present moment. So let's say you're doing the dishes and you want to practice mindfulness. You would ask yourself and notice and really feel in your body, how does the dish soap smell? How does the sponge feel in my hands? What is the texture of the plate that I'm washing? What temperature is the water? And this is also part of how you bring in the acceptance piece, right? So you're becoming aware of what you're doing and you are doing it in an accepting way. This is what the dish feels like. This is what the temperature of the water is. And as soon as acceptance is present for you, that's where you give yourself a choice in how you want to respond, which is how we can become more mindful in our day to day lives. We become aware, we become accepting, and we give ourselves a choice in what happens next. Let's say the water is too cold. I have to be aware of it and I have to accept that it's cold before I can make a choice to turn it to hot or to turn it off and to come back to it later. If I'm not aware and I'm not accepting, I don't have that choice. And that can be really frustrating. this is where people often end up acting not in alignment with the kind of person that they want to be because they don't accept their current reality as it is right now. So even though we're talking about the dishes and the teeny tiny choice to move the setting from cold to hot, hopefully you can see how this can have huge implications in your day-to-day life. The more you practice mindfulness in those teeny tiny moments with your senses, the more you actually give yourself a choice in life when the big stuff comes up. You pause, you become aware of what the situation is, and then you're able to respond how you want to. For me, that's with kindness, compassion, curiosity, and non judgment.
Wow, that is so good. So you answered the questions I was going to ask as you were going through. And
Great.
so, wow, that
Sweet.
was so complete. And so one of the things that the women that have been around for a while have heard me say is that you get to create the life you want, one choice at a time. And so by
Mhm.
having that mindfulness, the spirit of mindfulness, then you're able to accept and be aware and make the I used to say the next right choice.
Mhm.
And I had a coach kind of help me reframe that.
Yeah.
And she said, what if it was just the next choice that served you well
Yeah.
instead of right, because that implies it could be wrong. And so
Mhm.
what is the next choice that you can make that will help support the life that you say you want to live?
Yeah.
And knowing who you are at a core, we were talking about this before we hit record about being worthy just because you are, not because of anything you do. When you tie all that together with mindfulness, then you can make the choice that's going to support you, and that ripples out to everything.
And you have to be mindful to even realize that you're acting out of alignment. And for some people, like it's something happens, right? Like a diagnosis, a death, a milestone. And that brings them their attention suddenly to the present moment. And oh my God, I'm not living the life I want to live. And for me, part of the point of practicing mindfulness on a regular basis is so that you are always in control in that sense of the kind of life that you are living. You don't need to wait for a disaster to strike to then change your life. Why don't we just create the life you want now?
Yeah, and I think that for most of us, though, it is if whenever I start talking with someone before these, like I asked you for a little bit of your superhero origin story, and then we start to dig into it, a lot of times it is something that happened that triggered us to say, okay, something needs to
Yeah.
change. Especially for coaches, I see that. But it's not just for coaches, it's for everybody. And
Mhm.
what if we could create the life that we wanted to live today instead of saying, "Oh, it's too hard, I can't do that." All these
Yeah.
different things, making it to these false beliefs, and start to act out of the ability to know that everything you want, you already have it. You just have to step into it.
Yeah. Yeah. And you do that in the present moment, right? Like you can't do it tomorrow and you can't do it yesterday. You can only do it now. And mindfulness is the tool that helps you come back to now. And what are my choices now? And what can I act on now? And what am I responding to now?
Now, I like it. Now.
Mhm.
Now. I love it. Well, Alice, I am so excited to introduce you to the women in the community and on social media. If they're listening or watching, I'll make sure all your links are where they can click through to get connected with you. I know you have some free
Amazing.
resources on your
That's
website,
right.
and I'm going to go check some of them out myself because I definitely believe in
Mm.
mindfulness and it's a big part of how I try and show up. And I think the six things you said that I did not memorize in order,
That's okay. Oh, do you
that
want me to
is,
re-say that?
yeah, just a
Yeah.
second. Yes, but that is the kind of person I want to be. And so I was going to ask you for any kind of closing thoughts you had before we wrap. And if you would include the six again, that would be magical.
Absolutely. So, mindfulness is the quality of being present with awareness, acceptance, kindness, compassion, curiosity, and non judgment. And those are some of my values. They're the values that I infuse through all of my businesses, every course, every workshop, every coaching session, because I believe that the more mindful individuals we have, the more understanding, peaceful, and loving society we're going to create.
I couldn't have said that any better.
Mm.
So we're going to leave it right there. Alice, I'll make sure everybody is able to click through to get connected with you. And thank you. Thank you for spending time with me today.
Thank you so much for having me.